So welcome to Module 2 of the IHSCM Women in Leadership Development Programme. It's wonderful to have you all with us today. Hello to familiar faces and hello to those that are just joining the programme. Today's session focuses on the theme that sits at the heart of sustainable leadership, and that is personal resilience. In a landscape defined by uncertainty, complexity, and constant change, resilience isn't just a desirable trait, it's a core leadership competency. It shapes how we respond under pressure, how we support others, how we sustain ourselves in the roles that demand so much of us. We're delighted to be joined by Dr. Claire Mould, who is a fellow of the Institute of Health and Social Care Management. Her work and lived experience will resonate with you. Many will have seen Claire before at previous events. I'm just going to pop Melissa on mute for the time being. Claire has lots of experience with real-world insights and honest reflection that will make today's session really powerful, a good space for learning and building those connections. Before we begin, if you can introduce yourself in the chat, we can know a little bit more about you as we start. If you're comfortable to do so, please do turn on your camera, and if you're able to as well, depending on where you're logging in from, so we can create that sense of connection in the room today. And whether you're verbally contributing via the chat or unmuting at the opportunities to interact with us, we welcome your voices in this shared space. This is peer support at its best. Over the next 90 minutes, Claire's going to guide us through some emotional regulation, stress management in uncertain times, and practical strategies for you to take away and embed that resilience into your leadership practice. Today's also an opportunity to reflect, discuss and build your resilience toolkit. Just before I hand over to Claire, we'll start with a quick poll to get a sense of how resilient we are in your current role as a starting point for today's conversation. So I'm just going to screen share Slido. You should have received an invite to join the Slido poll today. We've got a poll there at the start as well as an invitation at the end to commit an action. There is an opportunity as well for you to use the chat box if you're not able to join on Slido. If you can use your QR code on the screen or go to slido.com and put in that code, you'll be able to interact with this poll that I'll launch now. Lovely, that's a great starting point for us. So generally, you are feeling resilient with some pressure points. So we're a 4. Let me stop sharing this slide. So without further ado, I'm delighted to pass over to Claire to begin our session, and I'm going to share your slides, Claire.
Thank you very much, Jade, and welcome all. It's an absolute joy for me to be here. I really enjoy doing all the sessions with the Institute anyway. And this one is a particular favourite. As Jade indicated, this is about peer support at its best. We are all coming together. This isn't going to be a lecture that I stand at the front and give you statistics and breakdowns and neurological information about what makes resilience, yada, yada. This is going to be a discussion where we take the time to internalise what resilience means, particularly for us. Having a quick glance, and thank you for being so proactive in sharing where you all come from in your posts. I'm not going to patronise you. You know about resilience per se, but the thing that really comes across that we want to demonstrate in the next 90 minutes is the fact of you need time often for you to consider your own personal resilience and building that, because you often are so busy, we are often so busy looking after everybody else that we don't take the time to build our own resilience. Okay, so next slide please, Jade. What we're going to be doing throughout this session is we're going to be understanding the role of emotional regulation in building personal resilience. I always start with that. Those of you, and I got some sort of, I can see some familiar names on there, which is absolutely lovely. It's nice to be part of the Institute community where we all come together. Will know how passionate I am from a neurological perspective. And this is my, my area of expertise is looking particularly at the links between the emotional bit of the brain and the cognitive bit of the brain. And I always start with that emotional regulation. That is a bit where we've got to get to. We can't just focus on the cognitive piece. We understand our emotional regulation. If we can get our emotions stable and regulated, then we are able to build our personal resilience. And that will lead us, we'll discuss about gaining stress management techniques for uncertain times. As Jade said, we are living in a time of unprecedented change. Things are happening rapidly. Now, this is really, really important, because where we are at the moment is digital changes, particularly, but also other life changes are happening so quickly that from a neurological perspective, we can't keep up with that, okay? Our brains are still comparatively Paleolithic. We do very much go back to the simplicity. When we look at that development, we haven't actually, from a neurological perspective, developed that much. We still very much go into flight and fight. We still only use a proportion of our brain, whereas digitally we are moving forward. The CEO of Microsoft is anticipating in the next 2 years they are going to be developing initiatives that are far, far better than all that they've developed over the last 12 years. So they're developing things at a rate over the next 2 years greater than the next 12 years. Our brains aren't going to keep up with that. Okay, so that will make us very stressed, because we've got to onboard an awful lot of new information, living in new cultures, new ways of working, new ways of communicating. That has potential for great stress. So we've got to learn stress management techniques throughout these uncertain times. And we'll be learning from personal insights, both that we share with each other throughout the activities that we're going to be doing. And also I will be sharing personal insights as well, and some case study examples. And then as we come towards the end, we will be developing our own personalized resilient toolkit, so you can apply it in your own leadership roles. This is absolutely key. The words there, personalized resilience toolkit, okay? Because as you will see as we go through, resilience is very personal to you. What causes you stress is very personal to you, and how you respond to that stress is very personal to you. So whilst I will be sharing a variety of things, what we will be doing at the end is actually committing to one concrete action, and that'll be the one that is most suitable for you. We have moved on from the days, and I can see through the breadth of experience that you have sat through enough meetings. Yeah, that's all very good, but it would never work here. Well, actually, that just doesn't work for me. It's all well for her to say that, but actually that would actually fill me with fear rather than resilience. That wouldn't work for me. I'm going to give you a variety of things. We're going to share as a team. Our breakout group, when we go in, is going to be focusing on us looking at a resilience toolkit that works for us. Not for, oh, there you go, I'm going to leave you with today, bang, there's your toolkit, go away and embed it, because that won't work. This is about something that works for all of us, so you can commit to one concrete action. Thank you, Jade. Okay, so this is how we're going to feel that strength of release, that strength of breathe. Even if you haven't got the the luxury of being on the on the top of an open space somewhere, just that picturing by the time we leave here, we want to think, yes, I've got this. I can breathe, I can go. And now that stance will come up an awful lot in the images that I use for a number of reasons. It's that, look at those hands, it's that power stance. Yes, I've got this, okay, I can do it. And I'm going to begin with an unusual quote today. Oh yeah, I might have a PhD in neurology. I'm going to begin with a quote from Mae West. You see, you didn't see that coming, did you? You didn't see me suddenly whipping in a quote from Mae West. It's a really phenomenal quote which works for us here. And the quote is, and I'm going to just like glance and read it, is that your real security is yourself. You know you can do it, and they can't take it away from you. Mae West said that. Your real security is yourself. And look at that power stance. And also, that's really important because when we do that, it opens up our lungs. We're not like hunched over and worried and head in hands. What am I going to do? It's a yes, I've got that. It opens up. We can breathe. And this is how we want to develop throughout today. I can't guarantee by 1:30 we'll definitely get right to that space, but we'll be endeavouring to walk there so you can just think, yes, this power stance, this is where we want to go. Thank you, Jade. So as we move on, so first of all, what do we mean by resilience? And it is our ability to be happy, successful and content, again, after something difficult or bad has happened. Because a lot of us, particularly in leadership roles, go, yeah, I'm really resilient. I can go in to a hard meeting and I'm not going to burst into tears, or I can go in and have hard conversations and we can move in. And yes, of course, I find them difficult, but I'm happy to have them. And, you know, it's just one of those things of leadership. Not everybody's going to like you. You are going to be the one, you are going to be isolated sometimes. You are going to be that. Yeah, that's being a leader. Being a resilient leader is being able to be happy in that state, successful in that state, and content. Because I can tell you, as somebody that's been a CEO for many, many years, positions of leadership for many years, that I can do all of those things. But hand on heart, did it make me happy? Yeah. People came and you sort of thought, they thought, oh yeah, sort of, you know, hard as nails, she can take this, they can say whatever they want to Claire because she can take it. Actually, no, was I content? No, it actually ended up getting to me because I was fed up of being the battering ram. I was fed up of being like caught between like the board that I was answerable to and my executive leadership team that were just off pouring and putting things on me all of the time. Did I show that to any of them? No. But it was chipping away to my resilience because actually I stopped being happy in the role. I stopped being content in the role. And that led to me being not as successful as I may have been when something difficult or bad happened. Yes, I could answer strategic things. Yes, I could turn around and say, right, we've got the safeguarding issue. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to respond. But actually, did I have that ability to bounce back? It got to me after a while, which is why we see the dramatic, ever increasing, frustratingly, levels of people being signed off with stress-related illnesses because their capacity to bounce back from difficult experiences gradually erodes. And unfortunately, it's not until something happens that we realize that. And this is what real resilience is about. It's those difficult experiences. And it might be something at home. Remember, we are human beings. Everything that happens to us all of the time, we bandy around the words like holistic. Yes, it's our whole life. I am a person. But again, as leaders, we're very good at compartmentalizing. We literally paint on a smile when we get through those experiences. And I always use that. And I always use have a strong, and I always think of my sister when I put on my lipstick, which is quite strong and bold, because when she was going through a cancer treatment, and she always was incredibly well presented and everything, she always said, as long as I can put on a really nice lipstick and look fine and look at the mirror and see myself in the lipstick. And I always knew when she was having a bad day because she had really, really bold lipstick on. You know, yes, we can mask, we can paint that face on and come in and do showtime, but are we bouncing back to it? Are we successfully adapting to the stresses that we're experiencing, both on a personal level and a professional level? Those things, and I'm going to come on to them in a moment, about the triggers that do it, the perceived threats, our stress responses. Can we adapt to those? And can we maintain a psychological well-being in the face of adversity? Because resilience will not eliminate stress or erase the difficulties. Stress is part of our life. We live in a stressful world. We will always have difficulties. It would be absolutely, you know, completely irrational. Don't worry, everything will be fine, because actually it might not be fine. But what we can do is give you an understanding of how to deal with those things that will contribute significantly to mitigating those stress levels. Thank you, Jade. So as we did the how resilient do you feel in your cold role? We did that. We started with that one, but this is why we ask it. So you can start off by saying how resilient. And so those of you that haven't had an opportunity to populate that poll, please do, because it's us thinking, how do we feel in our role? Having considered those things, are we going to change anything in that poll that we put? Being really, really honest about it. Because it doesn't surprise me that most of us sort of settled on a full, well, yeah, I mean, there are some, I mean, go on, I'm a leader, I'm going to have some stressful things, but I'm mostly okay. Some of you said very honestly and openly, you know, yeah, actually, I am struggling. I am struggling. And this is the thing, we don't always have to be, you know, resilient. We could, yes, this isn't a how resilient do you feel as a leader, as in can I go and have a hard conversation? It's how do you personally feel in your role? How do you feel resilient? So I can tell you that there was a last year, so just 2025, and we're only just sort of like tipping into February now, the Breaking Burnout report, it does what it says on the tin, indicated in 2025, 91% of respondents said by the end of the year that they felt some form of serious stress, that they had experienced some form of serious stress, that they really took them time to get back with, when they were really honest and they reflected. 91% of us were saying during the 12 months we experienced stress, and that might be at home, that might not be at home, but then that chips in. So again, let's have a look. So yes, generally resilient with some pressure points, which is great, which is really, really good. Very resilient is the minimal one, occasionally resilient but struggling, moderately resilient. So that means generally resilient, we are all of us then experiencing. Nobody is saying that actually, do you know what? I'm completely fine. We've got that 6%, which means that 94% of us at the moment tally with that we are experiencing some stress things. So it's so important for us to take this on board. Thank you very much, Jade. Really helping. It's making me more resilient and less stressed having Jade here helping my doing my slides, so we can move on. Thank you.
What's positive, Claire, from that poll so far is that not resilient at all has 0%. So we all have some resilience, and hopefully today we can build on that as well.
Absolutely, yes. We are hoping that yes, that continues to change, and also, as Jade said afterwards. So the four main types of resilience, because there isn't one, because in leadership we tend to just think of one, but there are four main types: the physical, mental, emotional and social resilience. So our physical resilience, these are, you know, they are what they say on the tin. Physical resilience is actually how physically we can come back to things, how robust we feel. Now, this is really important to monitor how well we're feeling, because stress levels so sometimes indicate how we're sleeping, how we're eating, whether we're feeling tired all the time or we can't sleep, whether we just have lost our appetites or we eat a lot. Again, completely personal. None of that's judgmental. None of that's right. None of that's wrong. But it's not healthy. It's our physical resilience. Is this, is your resilience, is it beginning to impact your sleep patterns? And is it impacting how you are eating, what your diet is like, and how are you responding to that? What are you doing about this? I can categorically say that my sort of demographic, because I'm 56, and so a lot of my, my peer friendship group, friends that I've had for a long time are, unsurprising. I think I have friends older and friends younger, but a majority of my friendship group, my girlfriends, if you will, are mid 50s ish, and some are older, some are slightly younger, but we're all in that age group. So, and a lot of them, because we went to university, things are doing very stressful jobs. They're in positions of leadership, they're sort of CEOs, they run their own companies, they're head teachers, they're, or have got, leading their own sort of families and very busy with that. So they have stress. And because of that, and the reason I mention my age is because a lot of people struggle with sleep when it's coming through with regard to the menopause. And so when you're a menopausal leader as well, that added stress. So I don't mind telling you that the birthday presents, the Christmas presents of choice that I got for lots of them were magnesium butter for them to, and it works really well. Tip for anybody. This isn't just menopausal individuals. This is for anybody. If you get, I don't know whether any of you have used this, but magnesium butter, and I also take like magnesium tablets, but it helps you sleep well. That you rub it on your feet before you go to bed, and that's lovely because first of all, from a physical resilience, it's a nice kind of foot rub before you go to, and you haven't got to take ages. I know that you probably just so exhausted and just fall into bed, but it's not like a whole kind of pedicure kind of thing. You literally just take 2 minutes of rubbing it in, but it's quite nice thing before you go to bed. And then during what it goes, it just lifts up and it really helps you sleep. And again, it's that physical resilience that if you notice that from a resilience perspective, you're struggling with your diet and with your, with your sleep, trying to find things that you can push through, but help strategies to help our resilience. Because again, I can't prevent and say, oh, what you need to do is do this and you'll have a good night's sleep. But we can find strategies to help us sleep. We can find strategies to help us with our diets and moving forward. I always find, and it's about us being in tune with where we are, I always find when I get more stressful that actually to the point that now I'm gluten-free, I'm a celiac, but I really struggle with processing any form of carbohydrates, even gluten-free carbohydrates. During the day when I have, busy meetings or if I'm doing presentations, I find it hard to digest and it really upsets my stomach. So now I've adapted my diet to do that. So our physical resilience, again, it's those finding those techniques, because the physical resilience is knowing actually what can I do to maintain my sleep, maintain my diet, keep healthy, because we can do those plaster things as in pushing through. And the best anecdote that I can share with you, and some of you may know this, I know Jade and Charlotte do, that one of the things that I do to help with my well-being and my resilience mental health is I run. I don't run quickly, I don't run elegantly. Well, I do. In my mind, I have this vision that I'm a young gazelle going through, but unfortunately I got caught on a camera once and I thought I really do not look like the young gazelle that I think I am. I'm more of a cart horse, huffing and puffing, plodding through. Anyway, I entered this half marathon because it was in the town that I live, and this is physical resilience. This is sticking part of physical resilience at its worst, which is we tend to do as leaders. So use this as a metaphor to figure out what we do. So I was running it, and it was at the end of the running season. I'd done a few events, but I wanted to do it because it was in our town. And in the last mile of the half marathon, I pulled my hamstring, and I was idiotic. I'd done a half marathon 2 weeks before, and I'd done a number of endurance events before that. And so I shouldn't really have done it. Physically, I was absolutely, not in a very good state, but I did it because I'm, idiotic and it's in the town. And I thought, well, why not? I pulled my hamstring. Now, the thing that physical resilience isn't is doing what I did, as in, I'm going to carry on for that last mile. And so I did run. I have never been in so much pain in my life. First of all, I sort of went down. It felt like I'd been shot in the backside. If anyone's ever pulled a hamstring, it's not pleasant. And I carried on and carried on. And I did get through it, and I kept blacking out. I had to say to my husband, who was running with me, I really feel like I'm going to pass out, and I had to hold him. I was gritting my teeth. I pushed forward. To my absolute shame, I am now inadvertently, I have done lots of these races where I've been waving at the camera when they have the cameras. This one, I was absolutely grimacing. For some reason, they ended up making me the poster girl of the blasted thing, because I think that they thought, oh, look at her, she's pushing through. If she can do it, anyone can do it. And it reminds me how stupid I was. Yes, I finished it. Yes, I got the medal. I literally passed out as I got over the line. It took me 3 months to get over that. That was on November the 2nd last year, or thereabouts. I have only just started to get back into running again, because yes, I did it for that moment. And that's what we do when we're physical resilience. We push ourselves and we think, yeah, I got through that. I can take that. But actually, can we? Because the length of time it takes us to go back. I wasn't being physically resilient. I was being idiotic, and I wasn't taking care of myself. Mental resilience as well. This is going to that, the cognitive piece, and thinking about our decision making, our ability to decision make. I know I said that this wasn't going to, but I'm going to do a little bit of the neurological bit. Our prefrontal cortexes of the bit, that's a bit of our brain that processes our decision making, our problem solving. And that's the bit where we have to be really, really interesting article in New Scientist recently about brilliant. Thank you. Put all of things like that in the chat. Wonderful. Bless you. Thank you very much for sharing. Anything, if there's new articles about this, please let us know. And I'm fascinated to read them, because I just love learning more things that I haven't read already, and all of you. So thank you for sharing. And it is about that mental resilience that, we are problem solving, how we can chip in and how we can turn around and say, yeah, this is what we need to do. We're strategists as leaders. But we notice if we aren't mentally resilient, we can't make those decisions so quickly. We struggle to problem solve. Now, being mentally resilient is taking the time to look after your brain. What can you do? It's about, because you're optimistic. Yes, you give your team hope. I'm going in. Don't worry, we can solve this. We can get there. We can do this. Now, what I do now, and I can only share, now if I'm going into a big meeting or even a presentation like that, and I think, no, I need to be really need to be quite literally firing on all cylinders, I just take the time to breathe before I go in. If I know I'm going into a difficult conversation and it's been one of those days where I haven't had a chance to have very much to eat. I haven't done very much self-care for myself. I'm really quite run down. I know it's going to be a difficult meeting or a difficult conversation, or there's suddenly a safeguarding issue that needs, or a medication issue, or something that suddenly needs dealing with that I've got to go into. I don't go straight into it. I go, right, let's take a moment. And I'll quite literally just take a moment to breathe, to build that mental resilience, to enable your synapses to be functioning fully. Just to breathe. Remember, the power pose. Just take that moment to breathe. Open up your chest and breathe, and just slow down your heart rate a little bit. and take a moment, however much you can do. It doesn't have to be a long time, but just before you go into that meeting, just take a moment, even if it means being a minute late for that meeting, to say, I just need to take a moment to build that mental resilience, because otherwise we will begin to struggle with that, making decisions, because you find if people are coming to you, machine gunning questions all the time, and yeah, you're good, you can throw that, but actually, are they as considered as possible? That erodes your mental resilience. Same as emotional resilience. That's actually how we carry emotional pain. We are working in jobs where we have to carry not only our own emotional pain, but lots of others and external people as well. And we, again, have to be the barometer of that. You need to deal with individuals who are coming to you without either being erratically happy about something or really, really erratically bursting into tears. You have to have that emotional barometer, that emotional resilience to work with things. And that means that you need to take the time, and we will be doing a mindfulness exercise later, to just do that self-care, to regulate your emotions. Because if you are struggling with that part of your brain, your amygdala, which is a part that indicates our feelings, then you will be erratic. You will be make different emotional things, and you've got to step up. And that means you have really got to take the time to think what strategies, and we're going to unpick some of these later, work for you. And one of the most difficult points that I found with that I've had to emotionally regulate was not work scenario, because I could do the tactic, it was a personally. And my husband's brother was dying of cancer. He wasn't very old at all, and he did die. And because everybody else was there, that I was in contact with the hospice, and I was there, and I had to tell, because nobody else could cope with it. Somebody else had to tell. So I had to tell my parents-in-law that their son had died. I had to tell my husband that his brother had died. I had to tell his other brothers that his brother had died, because nobody else did. But it was because I was emotionally resilient. I was able to do that. Of course, I was desperately upset. I'd known him since I was 16. I was, heartbroken. He was quite literally like a brother to me. But I was being emotionally resilient. But that was only because professionally I had learned emotional resilience. So I was able to deal with that scenario when other people weren't. And social resilience is our ability to conduct ourselves socially. And what we tend to do when we're not resilient is we isolate back. Again, as leaders, you revert back and you revert back, because it is, I'm just getting on with this. I just need to finish this report. I just need to do this. Or you get home and you say, I can't do that, or I can't go out now because of this. No, I can't do that. I haven't got time to do this. I'm on my own all of the time. Whereas socially, building that social resilience helps us, because it is developing our ability to be wholly resilient. Whereas if we isolate ourselves, we do ourselves harm. And it is that challenge for us as leaders who are very busy, that haven't got the time to go out. And I'm not saying the bit of Saturday night, and we all love it when something's been cancelled because I get to, stay in and I haven't got to go out now. It's that bit of saying, no, I never socialise at all. I lose contact. I never make time to see my friendship group. I never have a chance to actually interact on a social way with either my team, and I'm not talking about big nights out and things, but actually connecting with them, finding out what their favourite chocolate bars, what do you like doing, what are your hobbies, how do you do that? That social resilience, it really helps them, because that combination of those four things are what leads us being a resilient leader. Thank you, Jade. So there we go. So we're just moving on to the next one as we consider those.
Apologies, Claire. It's just frozen on me. Let me reshare.
No, that's absolutely fine. It sometimes does that as when we come out of it and go in, and I think it's because you came out of it and went in there. So that's absolutely fine. It gave us a moment just to catch your breath a bit, which was useful. So how do we foster that positive mindset? I don't know whether any of you have heard of session that cognitive reframing. Now, cognitive reframing, the easiest way that I do that, the most easy way is to think about when you start to get very stressed, the best way to reframe and remain resilient is to do something which I call the sliding doors technique. Okay, I don't know whether any of you have ever seen the film Sliding Doors. I've told you before, I've been quite open, I'm 56. This is a film that was a long, long time ago. The younger members amongst us will think I don't know what it's I don't know what on earth you're talking about, but basically it's a very quick aside, it's a film about a woman that goes to catch a tube, or it's American, the subway, and what happens in her life if she gets on the tube or she just misses it, and the film plays out in two different ways. Now, how I've sort of taken that sliding doors thing is how you reflect on your day, how you reflect on that. Cognitive reframing is about, well, let's have a look at the grains of gold in the day. Let's put, I suppose, what crassly could be called a positive spin. This is the bit that at the end of the day, when we look in a demoralized way at our to-do list, and there's 3 extra things added on there and I haven't done anything else on there, but I seem to have added 3 things on there and I'm completely demoralized, and I'm on the bus home thinking, gee whiz, I don't know, I've not stopped all day and I haven't even got anywhere near my to-do list. Now, the positive cognitive reframing of that is your I have done list. So don't focus so much on the what you haven't done at the end of the day and take that home with you. Focus on, but what have I done? Because that whole conversation with ourselves is, I've not stopped all day and I haven't done anything on my list, makes us feel negative, and cognitively that impacts us. Whereas saying, I haven't done anything on my list, but actually I've worked all day, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And even if it means having an honest conversation with ourselves where we go, actually, I did spend more time getting caught up in that conversation and my team could have managed with that. I didn't need to spend so much time there. Or actually, I didn't chair that meeting as effectively as I should have done. I should have brought that conversation to a close a bit quicker. That's still learning, because I won't do that next time. I'll move forward next time. Actually, yeah, I've learned from that. I'll move forward. It's very different than thinking, right, what is on my to-do list? And I just haven't done it. And then we think, right, so I've done that today. So, but what do I need to do tomorrow? Because I can't get caught up in that again. What are my priorities? And the cognitive reframing is just us thinking more positively about how we're going on. And from a resilience perspective, that really helps us move forward. Practicing gratitude, again, as we go through the day, take the time. And I've spoken before at these forums about, like, you can keep a gratitude diary. You can just do that. But and I know it sounds a little bit saccharine, but actually it works. Just taking those times to think, what am I grateful for in my day? And again, I'm not just talking in the workplace, so it can be in the workplace. It's lovely if it's a workplace, but just in your life, what makes you feel grateful for being you? And often it's the really, really small things. So I'm inviting you to take time on a daily basis to just have a look around and just think, actually, but what am I grateful for? And I'm not talking about, actually, I'm grateful because I've got a really good job and I work with colleagues that I really like, and I've got a fabulous family, or I have a really good friendship group, or I'm, I I've got a nice walk close to where I live. You know, it's actually those small things. Actually, what am I really grateful for? How can I practice gratitude? What happened today to make me smile that I'm thinking, do you know what? That's really, really important. That's really important to me. I can tell you one thing that I was really grateful for when it was pouring down with rain and I got back from work and it was late, and then I suddenly realized that it was recycling day, and as I drove up I realized that somebody else had put out the recycling for me. Yes, it was brilliant. I'll tell you, I'd done some high-level strategic thinking that day. I'd managed to solve some certain things. I'd managed to do this, I managed to do that. But the thing that I was really grateful for, actually, I don't have to put out the recycling in the rain when I get in. And I'm really, really tired. And I'm actually really grateful for that. And it's those small little things that just taking the time to say, oh, actually, yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And if we gradually do that ourselves, what we'll start to do is we'll do things and we'll notice, and that we can share with our teams as well. Actually, you know, what are you grateful for? Because it's often, as a leader, the thing that helps our teams be more resilient are you doing those little things that make people know that they're noticed, that they are grateful for. And so doing these activities with your teams helps them. So it is the bit to say, actually, I know you've done that, so I've bought these sweets, and oh yeah, I noticed that these were your favourite. And people think, oh, that was really kind of you to even notice that. Or somebody turned around and said, look, I know that you're doing this, this and this, so let me do this time. Or look, don't worry, you know, you made the coffee last time, I'll do that. It's those little things that actually make teams feel valued, because it's noting self. And that is on a personal level. And that's the same as you would, but we have to practice being grateful for those things. Because unfortunately, we can swing through life and we focus so much on the negativity, the little small wins that we have in our life that can just be the fact that, you know, like I say, you're driving home, you're thinking, oh, I forgot to pick up milk. Is there enough milk for me to have a cup of tea when I get in? I really, really hope so. Or do I have to go to the shops again when I get there? And actually doing that, we forget. And the simple way to say about how rubbish we are at doing gratitude is, I'm sure at some point in our lives, you have all either had toothache or earache. It is miserable. It is horrible. And the one thing with toothache or earache that you think of is you think, do you know what? I will be so grateful. I will be so grateful when I can eat something and it's not really, really painful, or I haven't got this pain. I will be really, really grateful that I can just have a meal and I'm not just eating on that side of the mouth, or I'm not just having soup and milkshakes and things. And then the toothache goes, and then you're chomping down on something, crunching everything. Are we grateful for it? No, we're just eating. We get back on with it. We forget. We get on. We don't go, do you know what? This is brilliant. 3 weeks ago, I had a toothache and I'm really, really pleased now that I can have this bar, this crunchy bar, or this, you know, chew on a celery stick or whatever it may be. You know, we don't do that. We're just eating. We chomp on an apple. We don't go, yes, that toothache's not been there for 6 months now. We don't. We're superficial. As soon as it, you know, goes, that there are times that, you know, there have been times that, bear with me, and I know it's lunchtime, so excuses for the vulgarity of this, but I have been so desperate to go to the bathroom when I have been driving, and I think that, right, if I get there, if there's a toilet here, I just need to get to the toilet as quickly as possible. If I can get to, if there's a service station in the next mile, I really need to go there. I really need to go there. Really, really need to go there. And I will give anything to go there. I'm throwing up prayers. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, because I'm desperate to go to the bathroom. When I get there and get in and go to the bathroom, and I get on with the car, and I think, oh God, you know what? They're not even letting me out on the motorway. This is a rubbish service station. I can't get out there. It's gone. we need to take time to practice resilience. They're flippant examples I've got, but they're the things that chip away at us. Thank you, Jade. Because all of those things will help us minimize stress in the workplace. Because we are whole people. It's those combinations of little bits that minimize stress. The big bits we can cope with. It's the little bits, those bits that, if you are aware of the game Buckaroo, which for those of you that aren't, is the you know, it's basically a buck and you put a saddle, you know, like a donkey, and you put a saddle on and it goes down, and then everyone takes turns to put something on it, and it gradually goes down and gradually goes down, and then somebody puts something on and it all flies up. There are sort of similar, more modern examples I can use, but I'm a Buckaroo girl, what can I say? But the thing is, though, it's not the big saddle that makes the Buckaroo go. It's the tiniest little thing that goes on that finally makes everything fly up. And that's what we need to think about when we're thinking about minimizing stress in the workplace. Gradually looking at those tiny things, because then that will help us build back to be able to deal with the big things. Because it's the little things that will eventually tip you over or your team over, but it's the culmination of those things. So if we start with being grateful and eradicating and minimizing and preventing all of those things, that will minimize the stress in the workplace. That will mean that we don't have the Buckaroo, that people don't get signed off with stress. And that means monitoring and raising awareness in organisations of what it is, having open conversations, but not in a way that turns around and go, oh, do you know what, I'm so stressed. This is really stressing me out. Don't throw the word around like that, but actually using words like gratitude and saying, thank you, I really appreciate that. And actually, what have you really appreciated? You know, what bits of your role do you really appreciate? Building that in to your current parlance, to say to your team, right, I know we've reached over that, but look at what you have done. Look at what you have achieved. I know it's been a tough couple of weeks, but look at what you have achieved. So we can gradually change the culture and increase the support that we offer. Thank you, Jade. So just think, write down one recent challenge and how you responded emotionally to that. Just take some time to do that now. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, not a long time, but 3 minutes to do that. And then we'll share those with the group. One recent challenge and how you managed emotionally, not what you did, but actually what was your emotional response to a challenge that you had? And this is a shared confidential space. It can be one as in, actually, I didn't respond particularly well to that. I actually got quite frustrated or I got quite upset afterwards, or it can be a example of, actually, I managed to regulate that. And I don't mind, you can share either of those, and we can share those in the chat, or you can come off mic and you can tell us about it. Right, okay, people, we don't have to share, like as we said right at the beginning, this is a sort of a peer support session, but we don't if this is a personal thing, you don't have to share. This is a reflective activity for you, but if you want to, you would be most welcome to share with us. Oh, thank you very much, Melissa. Been frustrated recently, follow a staff member being quite rude at leaving. Really, thank you. That's a really, really great example that it is being honest about being frustrated about a member being rude about leaving the organisation. It is, and it is frustrating. I mean, we are going to have these emotions, but it is that, you know, reflected on the conversation and had a cup of tea. That's it, because don't respond immediately. You know, take the time. You know, we don't need to be reactive. We need to be responsive, but not reactive to something. I had a call from my son's school that said he had disclosed. Wowee, gosh, thank you, Crystal, for sharing. That's an incredibly, you know, very, very, very candid thing for you to share with us. And I mean, bless you for having to take that on. But how, but you did exactly, it is that thing. And breath, don't underestimate the power of breath. Exactly what I think it is, that taking, and you know, and thoughts and prayers with you, because it must be very difficult, but you know, that taking a deep breath and having a conversation with him after school, isn't that exactly the right thing, rather than suddenly getting erratic, suddenly going, oh, I don't know why he's doing that, I should do that. You know, it's very easy for us to go to 1 to a million, you know, straight away, because that's something that's called, you know, you could be neurologically hijacked like that, because it's wow, you know, but it's having that deep breath and having that conversation. And it is, yeah, Melissa, it is really, really difficult not to be reactive. That's our first thing, because going back to our brains, that is the neurological response, unless we built in these resilience things, because it goes straight to that. We're not going into our prefrontal lobes. We go straight to immediately, you know, responding, rather than learning those techniques to slow us down. Yeah, quick response reactions are always wrong. Resilience is, patience is the key. Absolutely. Taking that time. And unfortunately, in the fast-paced world where people look to us to make responses all the time, and as leaders, we feel we ought to. Okay, our sisters, you know, does set you off, you know, the breath cavity, you know, it is getting a, you know, a call from school during work. It does, because it throws you and you get hijacked by these things. And also, as parents, as leaders, what we need to do is, you know, realize we haven't got to respond immediately, because we feel we do. Because if somebody comes to me and I'm sort of saying, yeah, but I'm the one in charge here, I need to give an immediate response, or the school's on the phone, I need to give an immediate response, it is okay to say, do you know what, I need time to think about that. I need time to think about that. Or just leave it with me, or hold on, can I just hold on? That's a lot to digest there. That isn't a failure, as we're seeing, you know, the power of the pause, you know, brilliant, and a brilliant quote, you know, breathing, choose your response, not react to it. Yeah. And it is that bit, love that, when you're already operating outside the window of tolerance at work or personally, you know, dealing with stressful situations, you immediately react. Excuse me, I just have a quick sip of water. It is, it's getting to me. You know, these examples are just so brilliant, so vibrant. I'm really grateful for you sharing, and it's again this peer support, and what's indicating that we're all going through it. We're all going through it. We all have those calls sometimes when we are at work. I remember I had one once. I was doing a PowerPoint presentation to a huge conference. I was the keynote speaker. And I was at the lectern, and somebody came up and they just put, you know, this bit of paper, and they just slid it onto the lectern in front of me. And I thought, God, have I got my timings wrong? Are they going to say, get off, or they hate you, no, leave, or something like that? It literally said on there, your son stopped breathing. You need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. I was doing a keynote presentation. There were 150 people in the conference there. Word to the wise, if you are delivering somebody news that they're doing a keynote presentation and the sun stopped breathing, maybe just slip it in a piece of paper. Maybe someone will say, I'm really sorry to stop you there, Claire, but something's happened. Do you mind? Can I have a quick word? And then explain to the team. But that's a bit of reflective for the person that gave me the note. I think they were equally as shocked as everything. They thought she just needs to go. And again, did I go, but you do, you turn around and don't worry, I'm not about to turn around to you. And I turned around and said, right, don't worry, I'm going to finish this up in 1 minute, guys. Of course, I turned around and I just said, I'm really sorry, I need to go now. And when? Because we do get hijacked by these things. That is okay. All of these things happen. We know that every single one of us on this call has been hijacked by life stuff in the same way that we've been hijacked by work stuff in life. But we have to learn to be resilient. Yeah, absolutely. I've got the chimp paradox, Stacey. And the thing is, though, it's those books that help you with where you are. And actually, the book that I'm reading at the moment, and I can't show you it now because I haven't brought it into the office because it's by my bed. That I pointed there as if my bed's just over there. It's not. I mean, my office that is, I'm reading a different kind of power by Jacinda Ardern, because she reads about, how actually she builds up that resilience in time and how she realizes that the leader that she thought she should be actually isn't the one that she needed to be and she wanted to be, and that she was. Wonderful. Right, we carry on because we're running out of time and we've got breakout activities to do and we've got lots. So these are the things that then, so understanding our personal triggers and stress responses. So the way that we can, and again, I am enormously grateful for you for sharing in the chat, the way that we can manage these things is we understand what are our triggers, what are the things that really press our buttons that are going to do it. And it is stuff like, of course, on a personal level, being told something quite serious, that you get a call from the school that tells you something serious about your son. Yes, that is going to be a trigger. So knowing actually anything to do with family, bad news and stuff like that, that is going to be a trigger to me. Yes. On a workplace, finding out that a member of staff that's left is bad mouthing the organisation, that is likely to be a trigger. But also we have, what are your personal triggers? Because if you can preempt them, that helps with the power of the pause. What triggers you? What do you really irks you in something that you can think, no, that if somebody does that, that is going to really annoy me? For me, because I deal with integrity, I am the most transparent person. I'm transparent. I've told you about being caught short on the motorway and not asking you to go to the loo. You don't get much more transparent than that. I am a transparent person. So I don't like it when somebody lies to me. I'd rather you tell me a very difficult truth, that you've made the worst mistake or you've done something, rather than lying to me. That's a trigger. If I found out that some of my team are not being honest with me, then I know that is a trigger to me. That is a workplace trigger that I really, there's two things that, having, that lying and not being honest in the workplace is a real trigger to me. Identify what your triggers are. And also be aware of the perceived threats. When you're going into difficult conversations, we build these things up in our mind. How many of us have what I call a pre-meeting shower chat? That sounds worse than it is. I'll explain. What I mean by that is when we're having our shower in the morning, when we're, you know what you do in a shower, that's me washing my hair, that, you go through and you think, oh, well, if they turn around and say that, if they do this, I know what's going to happen. They're going to come in and they're going to do this and they're going to do that and they're going to do that. We perceive the threat. It might not be like that. And even if it is, building yourself up to that worst case scenario, that leads us to react because, well, I'm not going to put up with that. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to tell them if they do this, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do that and I'm all hyped up and I'm all hyped up. listen. Listen to understand, as Carl Rogers says. Listen to understand, rather than our pre-meeting thoughts in our minds. We go in to be understood. I'm going to tell them that, and I'm not going to stand for that. And that means our perceived threat, because if it is the worst case scenario, if you understand that, you can deal with it more lucidly, more resiliently, and understand what your stress response is. That do you get frustrated? Do you get angry? Do you burst into tears? Do you start, questioning your own ability? Yes, we all do all of those things some of the time. But how to deal with perceived threat triggered by former workplace PTSD? Really good question. I shall give a really quick answer to that, which won't be detailed now. I know that it won't satisfy you, but I will do, just because I'm conscious of time, and this is a really important one to unpick. But the best thing is to understanding from that PTSD is that what it is, and deconstructing it, break down. So this perceived threat, because it is triggered by former PTSD, will be bigger to you. So we start by just breaking that down so it is manageable. Right, so let's try to bring some logic. So the perceived threat, why am I seeing that this is the threat? What is it about this which is reminding me that it is linking in with that it is linking in with this, that it is linking in with something else? What is it about that? And it might be that if that perceived threat, because it is linked to PTSD, that you really think, actually, I am going to make a call. Let's go right back to a colleague that shared in the chat about in the New Scientist, that said about, the productive quitting. Sometimes it's actually the most productive thing to say, actually, I'm not the most effective. And I can give you a very quick, very serious example of this. Somebody in the workplace had been abused when they were a child, and there was no need for them to share that publicly. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, what they were doing when they were supporting somebody that had come into their care, and they had been released from prison for abusing children, and part of their role was to take them to see their probation officer to talk about how they were coping with that and how they were. Now, this person was worried, going, I don't know what they're going to be talking about. I don't know what to do that, but actually, I know I've got this. I know I've got this, my personal thing, and I'm really worried about it. And because that conversation might not have even gone that way, it may not trigger, but because the perceived threat was so great for her PTSD, because it was such a serious thing, that then she then spoke to somebody in HR and got changed. And it's that whole thing, which is wonderful. And it is, you're quite right, Maxine, thank you for sharing it, is that, it's included, like the emotional freedom technique. And sometimes it is getting the freedom to actually say, actually, that links in with that productive quality. Actually, no, you don't have to deal with it all of the time. Even though you're the leader, you do have the right to say, on this occasion, I'm not going to do it, because the perceived threat is too great, because the risk of it being real is too great for me. Okay? But there are times, the emotional freedom as in, actually, I'm not going to put this stuff on myself. I'm not going to be, that emotional freedom, I'm not going to let this weight me down, But that's really good, and I'm really glad that you managed to have a great coach, and that's really good. One of the things we will come on to with techniques is actually getting external help. Sometimes we can depend on other people, so thank you, Maxine. Right, moving on, and we're going to canter through as we come through. So just have a moment, have a think about what stress management techniques do you feel most realistically apply for you? You know, what stress management techniques do you use that we can share today? We've heard of some of them, and it's like, can be like having, we've already got a couple of them while you're thinking. So get thinking about this, because we spend 5 minutes just doing and just sharing, just talk as you can, or put things in the chat just as it comes to mind. We've already had, just breathing, having a cup of tea, those simple things to start, so your heart rate down, having a good coach, reading a book helps my mind management. The chimp paradox helps my mind management. These are all things, reading external things to help us understand. Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. Changing your state, playing music that either calms you or energizes you. Absolutely. And it depends what's right. When I need to calm, I sometimes put on like classical music. I always have classical music on my phone, so I can just play it very, very quickly going in, or like you say, hyping you up. Yeah, taking a break. Productive isn't always be at your desktop. That's absolutely true. Well, I just see that having a pet cricket, a water feature, and playing bird chipping. Oh, wonderful. I just saw cricket there, and I thought, not a cricket bat, surely. No, we can't take, I'm not condoning violence here, but no, having a pet cricket and a water feature. Yeah, is that playing a bird chipping? It is, it's great. It is those things, a long hot bath, all really, really different things that work for us. And I absolutely love this, because what you are demonstrating here, meditation, sitting outside for a few minutes with a coffee. The brilliant thing is, team, is to take away is that some of these can be longer, like taking yourself off and going for a longer walk, or just a 5-minute walk, just getting out of the office and walking around, listening to some music. And it can just be when I listen to class, sometimes I just listen to it for a minute and close my eyes, or your hype song, as I always say, when my son's going into exams and things, I always send him over a hype song. Yeah, physical activity works for you. Other people don't. Some people have baking, and it depends what time. And I would recommend a combination of all of those. You've got quick fixes during the day, but then build into whatever time you have off. I know we don't always have weekends off, but we have other periods off. If physical activity is your thing, then do a longer period of that, or actually take time. It's not a guilty pleasure to read a book if that's helping you. It's actually important. It's self-care to read that book, or make time for a bath, or to do baking, or to be in the garden and doing some gardening. Wonderful. So thank you very much for sharing all of those things, rather than just listening like for a moment to that bird chirping. Actually try and get out somewhere where you can listen to the birds if you're fortunate enough to be in that position. Brilliant. Thank you all. A really good cross section of it. And again, it goes right back to what we said at the beginning, personal resilience, because not all of those will work for everybody, but they may work for you, and some of them definitely will do. Thank you, Jade. So what we're going to do now is a mindfulness exercise. Okay, so this is your opportunity, and I am conscious of time, so we are, cantering because it's brilliant. I don't apologize for that at all, because we've had great interaction. But mindfulness is something that, I'll be honest with you, as a neurologist, I was a little bit, when it came out and it all just became the big thing, I was a little bit, oh yeah, I get it, but it's become, it's become hijacked, and people aren't doing it, so properly. But actually, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take it on board. There are some brilliant bits of mindfulness, and mind mapping is absolutely excellent, and it works from a neurological perspective. Now, we've heard a lot about the breathing side that works, and breathing is, and I could have taken you through a guided meditation. I could have taken you through a breathing exercise. What I'm going to do is do one slightly different. Have any of you heard of the 5 senses meditation? And the 5 senses meditation is a good one for us to realize that it can be done as long or as short as you want. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our 5, key. We're going to do our 5 sessions, and then I'm going to see these in an order, and then just check to keep on the time here. So the first one that we're going to do is you take 5 things. You're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with each of your senses. So what I want you to do is focus on 5 things that you can see. And this isn't like in a nice spy thing, just little things that you haven't noticed. Take the time to really analyze the space you're working in. Is there a crack in the paint? Is there a shadow that you've not noticed? Not that, oh, yeah, I can name 5 things. There's my laptop, there's my desk, there's the heater. 5 things that you haven't ordinarily noticed around your environment that you're working in. As we whiz through our environment so quickly, it takes us to stop and take our time to notice the little things in our environment that we don't ordinarily see. And just taking the time to notice the little things slows us down. Okay, just having a look, like, does that shadow, like I've just noticed that the shadow that's falling from my laptop over there, and this is, that just looks like the end of a Toblerone because it's just falling in a little pyramid shape. Shows that obviously it's sort of lunchtime, my stomach's churning, and it just looks like the point of a mountain top, or like I say, for those of you that's focused on Toblerones, and it just takes us out of ourselves. I'm thinking, oh, that's really unusual. I've never noticed that shadow cast in that particular way. And so it led me to think of, oh, well, what do other shadows look like in here? And it just removes my thinking. Then we move on to 4 things that you can feel. So just think, your desk, just take time to touch. Is your desk smooth? Is your laptop smooth? That, the sensation, the textiles on your clothing. What are the different, from a dexterity perspective, what are the different feels and senses? 4 different things that you can touch and feel. 4 different types of feelings. What's smooth in your work environment? What's soft? What's hard? What's cold? What's hot? Just taking that time to feel. And the reason that we do that is that brings us in to be aware of the texture of where we are at the moment. Okay, it's to, that whole thing. It could be that, are you feeling, I can actually feel there's like, is there a draft on there so I can feel something on me? Again, just being very in touch with our environment, awareness to what our environment feels like. Is there a draft? Or if we did this at a different time, if you would like to say warm breeze, I'd be very surprised if anybody's having a warm breeze. Is there a sharpness? Is there a pain? How are we feeling? And then we do 4 things. Then we move on to 3 things. 3 things we can hear. So really do some mindful listening. Close your eyes and just listen. Don't look, just close your eyes and think of 3 things that you can hear. And try really hard to block out the normal noise that is around you and listen to the other things that you don't normally go. This is very similar to our colleagues that said about like listening to like the bird chirping or the cricket cheeping. And then we move on to 2 things that you can smell. Smell the environment around you. Just really take the time to smell. Again, these things that we take for granted, but what can you smell around you? Just trying to think of what our environment smells like. Some of you in medical environments might be like caustic. There might be a smell of sweetness. Somebody might be able to smell a cup of coffee. There are 2 things that you can smell. And then finally, it's 1 thing that you can taste. What is the taste on your lips at the moment? What are you tasting of? Is there a taste of a cup of coffee that you had, or a piece of fruit that you ate? Toothpaste? Or last night's curry that's still emanating there? What's the taste? And one of the things that you can do for that is you can actually, which is a mindful one in its own, is actually take the time to do what's called mindful eating, that you can actually have a raisin and put it into your mouth and actually suck on the raisin, experience it, and actually take the time to eat it slowly and really think about what it's like. Or you can do it with a little square of chocolate or something. That just, all of that just slows us down. It's a very simple exercise, but it stops and makes us think about where we are in our environment at the moment. We've cantered through that because I am conscious of time, but what we need to do is that it's just 5 senses, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that just repositions where you are in your environment, and it just automatically slows us down and makes us appreciate where we are and in tune with all of our senses. Okay, Thank you, Jade. We'll carry on. So some of the strategies then, and then in a minute we're going to have a quick 5-minute sort of like breakout where we can really we'll go into breakout rooms where we can all come together, and I am conscious of time. But some of the tools and approaches that will really help us to build resilience, and some we've touched on already today, and some of you is actually set realistic goals. Remember, don't do our big to-do list actually, but what can I achieve today? And identify your best time of day. When are you at your optimum? Because we all have peaks and troughs, we're all different. When are you at your optimum? And schedule to do your most stressful and challenging things at that time of day. I am far better at 6 o'clock in the morning than I am at 8 o'clock at night. You know, I would be far better having a meeting, you know, at 5 in the morning than I would do at 10 o'clock at night. I'd much rather do that, whereas some people are better in the evenings. You know, is the morning more productive time for you, or the afternoon? When is your best time of day? And vary your activities. Don't do the same things, you know, mix it up a little bit. Take the time. The whole point of that mindfulness exercise is it takes us out of ourselves. We saw that, you know, in the, you know, makes it, you know, if you've got a day where you need to be writing reports, actually vary it up and say, oh, actually, but I'm going to build in some time to go and do something else as well, and then come back to it, which again then leads on to take regular breaks. Nobody wants a desk martyr. No, I can't leave here. No, I'm carrying on. No, I'm not taking a holiday. No, that is where burnout lies. Take regular breaks, and you owe it to your team to role model that you do take breaks, that you are going to get up and walk around. Delegate or ask for help. You know, say, do you know what? I could really do with some help with this. Don't feel you just because you're the leader, you don't got to do everything on your own. Just because you're the parent, you haven't got to have all the answers. Delegate and ask for help. Seek social support. Look to your support structures and be honest and say, actually, do you know what? I've had a really, really tough day. Do you fancy coming for a walk with me? Do you fancy going for a coffee? You know, I could really do with a night out. Don't go insular. Seek support from your social network and practice those mindfulness techniques, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can extend all of those. You could just say, I'm going to go out and actually just notice things in my environment that I don't normally notice. I'm going to listen to things beyond the roar of traffic and sirens going off. Those are some strategies. So moving on then, we're going to have a very quick, and I'm afraid we're just going to run a few minutes over, if that's okay, and I do apologise, but I really wanted to hear all of you in your interactive way, is that we're going to break out, and Jade's going to say this to you just for 5 minutes, and I know it's not a lot of time, but, you know, unfortunately, and I do apologise, but I don't apologise, if you know what I mean. We are running a little bit over because I wanted to listen to you, is that we're going to create a resilience toolkit with at least 3 strategies to take back to your teams. Okay, so Jade, am I all right to you, or Charlotte, to support people with going into breakout rooms to discuss this, and we'll come back in 5 minutes and discuss them, if that's okay. Apologies again for time.
I've just realised I've gone very dark all of a sudden as well. That's one of my senses heightened from your exercise,
Yeah.
Claire. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate we haven't got as much time as we planned for with the breakout rooms, but we will open them briefly. You will move automatically shortly. If you can't stay, as Melissa's put, that's fine. You need to go, you can go. We are recording the final elements of the session as we have done throughout.
Absolutely.
So you can always catch up.
Apologies. Yeah, and I do take responsibility for that, but that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that everybody, but we can do this. We're nearly there for the rest of you.
So our breakout room should be open.
And again, apologies, we're only going to run like 10 minutes over, because, you know, I'm going to give you 5 minutes all to sort of feedback and share, and then I'll just wrap it up in 5 minutes. But you know, and apologies for going 10 minutes after. I really wanted to take time with you because you were so open with sharing. So feedback then from the groups, anybody? Yeah, I'm glad it was really helpful, and apologies, and I do appreciate that people have got to go. So any feedback that we've got from people that want to share some of the strategies that you all came up with? Wonderful. Chloe, thank you.
So we talked about a whole range of stuff. It was actually really great to reconnect, and we said that was a strategy, was reconnecting with people and taking opportunities when we're in the office to physically do that. We also talked about stepping away from the computer and having that physical distance, I guess. But yeah, it was just a lovely opportunity to reconnect in that space. Thanks.
Perfect, wonderful. And like I say, I apologise that when we do one of these again, we'll make sure that we give a longer one. So it is that reconnecting. Again, it goes back to that social support, isn't it? That we often, that's the first thing to go when we get stressed. Does anybody else want to share anything before? Are we all okay? We'll move on. So what we've inadvertently covered then through here is that feeling of that we're feeling in control. We can't control the uncontrollable, but we can control what we do. Wonderful. Sorry, Katie, I know, I apologise. We were meant to finish, and I do appreciate everybody's time is so precious. That we've got that feeling of control. So don't try to control the uncontrollable. Focus on what you can control. And that's just about having all of these strategies. Practice that effective emotional regulation. Looking at the problem solving skills, prevention, trying to think, well, actually, how can I prevent that? And how do I deal with problem solving? And what's my most effective for dealing with that? And this is piece, self-compassion. It's not a luxury to put yourself first, to take time to go for a walk, to have a bath when you get home, to read a book, to do these. It's really important. It's absolutely key. And as Chloe said, and you said in your, you know, the groups actually that build that social support network. Oh no, they travel to work by doing it. It's wonderful. Thank you. And let me just, sorry, I'll just open up the chat and just read that because I want to hear what, yeah, and they travel to work by doing a short walk first thing and end. Yeah, really, really brilliant. I was, listening to that the other day. I don't know whether any of you listened to the podcast or it's on Radio 4 as well. What's Up Docs with the two doctors on that talk about that, and they sort of was just saying very simply about somebody like gets off the bus stop earlier than they need to. Really, really, really important to do those things, to build in what you need to do and take time for that social network and to reconnect with each other as a support group like you have done today. The openness today, yes, I know it's meant that we've gone over, but as a presenter, I'd much rather that than me go through and nobody answers anything and nobody comes up. It's been really wonderful. Thank you. So next slide then, please, Jade. So those three management things of our themes we've done. So emotional regulation, stress management, and those resilient practices. And we have to regulate our own emotions. We have to take time to learn how we can regulate our emotions. We have to manage our stress responses. And we have to practice being resilient. And that's the thing, it won't just come naturally. We have to be self-aware and practice all of those things. Thank you, Jade. We have actually only gone 6 minutes over, which feels a little bit better. Never forget how brave it is to continue to show up in a story that looks so different than you thought it would be. None of us know when we start the day. I categorically know, even though I've not been to any of your workplaces, that none of you know how your day, when you came in this morning, how it was going to pan out. None of us know in our lives what it's going to be. So never forget how brave it is to continue to show up in a day that was going this different. And that's your first gratitude thing. Actually, do you know what? I got through. I survived. I did it. Do you know what? I got through. There's a brilliant postcard that I used to do, that somebody who was wonderful, that I used to support, that was on the autistic spectrum, and it's brilliant. He had this wonderful T-shirt of that I saw this postcard of, and it said, you know, I'm up and dressed. What more do you want? And it is that, actually, just be brave for, you know, it's what works for you, for what works for you. So thank you very much for today. Thank you for staying on an extra sort of, you know, just under 10 minutes extra. And like I say, I apologize as a presenter that I've gone over, because I hate doing that. But on a personal level, I'm really grateful that you all interacted so much. If anybody does have any further questions, I'm happy to stay on the call and answer them immediately. Or if you want to connect with me, or if you do go on to the next slide now, Jade, my email's there. You got Jade and Charlotte's emails anyway, but my email's there. Email me, connect with me on LinkedIn if you want to have a conversation, particularly those of you that are going through very, very challenging things. Very happy to do that outside of this. Bless you all. Thank you so much for giving your, giving your time and staying that little bit afterwards. Like I say, I hope that I haven't completely building personal resilience techniques by finishing by making you stressed, by making you late for your next meeting. So I hope that hasn't been. I hope that hasn't been the. I hope that hasn't been the case. And final thing from me, thank you so much for your interaction. And I've learned. Thank you for your very kind comments. But I've learned. I've learned a lot as well. And again, I never cease to be humbled by how fantastic you all are doing jobs day in, day out, with all of these things going on in your lives. So thank you very much all. Jade, closing words to you.
Thank you all. I'll just keep it very brief. We hope you enjoyed Module 2 of the IHSCM Women in Leadership Development Programme. We hope you're leaving with practical tools that you can use straight away. More importantly, we hope you're leaving with at least one clear action that you can take forward to strengthen your leadership. If you've still got access to the Slido, we'd love you to share that action with us. If you write it down, you're more likely to commit to it. We'd also love your feedback in the chat on how the session went, so that we can improve the programme as we go, and look forward to welcoming you for Module 3 on the 19th of March, where we'll be exploring how to navigate difficult conversations, building on our emotional triggers, understanding our own and that of our team, and that will be with IHSCM member Tina Hayden. Take care, and thank you for being here with us.